your favorite veteran podcaster coming to your ears. Before I get started on today's episode, I want to give a big shout out to our sponsor, Veteran Booth Snuff. Okay. All jokes aside, we all know someone. Also, please don't put snuff up your ass. Hello everyone, my name is Rayven, I use she/her pronouns, and I am the Rainbow Veteran. It is a rainy day here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I am loving this spring weather. 7 degrees outside, and I'm just loving it. On today's episode, I want to talk about a very small niche group of veterans that I think everybody knows. And they are very small, but very loud and very vocal, especially online and in person. I'm, of course, talking about Vet Bros. And again, I want to preface, I am not talking about all veterans, but specifically Vet Bros and the toxicity that comes with it. And trust me, there's a lot of toxicity when it comes to these guys. So first I want to start, what the fuck are Vet Bros? For those of you who either are still in the military, you don't know anybody personally who's a veteran, like you're a civilian and you somehow don't know vets, or the vets you know are very quiet about their service, which most of us are. What are Vet Bros? Well, I'll tell you one thing. They're not going through the fucking Mushroom Kingdom trying to save a princess. God, that was such a dumb joke. I am sorry. I'm sorry for that. That was in my show notes, too. And I thought I was being clever. But God, that's such a dumb dad joke. I just turned 30 and the dad jokes are just flying through me. So, Vet Bros are how I would describe them as, like, they're the quarterback for the high school football team that peaked in high school and still acts like they are in high school and that they are tough shit because they once were a quarterback. They have that eternal frat boy mentality that comes out of the military, and like really like college level frat boy, like 20 years after college, and they're still like, yeah, beta pie, go beta. I feel like I'm going to ruin my throat doing that freaking voice, but all I can think of is Yajirobe from Dragon Ball Z. Now, and when I say frat boys, I don't mean like brotherhoods or fraternity organizations like the Moose Lodge, the VFW, the American Legion. Though some Vet Bros are probably part of those organizations. Stereotypically, Vet Bros are bald or balding, or they have the high and tight style. They come in two different flavors and appearances. They're either bald or balding with long beards, or long hair, and typically wear like button-up shirts that like have like the Navy button-up shirt that I keep seeing on the Navy Exchange whenever I'm just bored and browsing the Navy Exchange's website. Or they still have the high and tight and still dress pretty square. You know, everything's all aligned. The gig line, is all squared away. And yeah, they a lot of them wear like grunt style clothes all the time. Now, I'm not saying you can't, as a veteran, can't wear grunt style clothes. I have like 2 shirts from them. And I kind of bought them ironically, to be honest. Like, I bought it, one that says veteran, constantly tired, swears a lot, just pissed off all the time or something like that. And I'm like, yes, that's funny. I want that shirt. But like, having one or two shirts, a hat or two, like Navy veteran, your era of service, that's fine, especially if you're going to go out and do veteran stuff, like go to a VFW, go to an American Legion, that's fine. But Vet Bros, this is their entire wardrobe. And I feel like the younger Vet Bros, it's either grunt style, only grunt style clothes, or it's also mixed in with Tap Out and Ed Hardy clothes from the early 2000s. I feel like it's got some of that in there. But that also kind of reminds me, Vet Bros are kind of the Tap Out guys, too, that were in high school, now that I think about it. But, so, going back to what I was actually talking about before my little side tangent, they are also very demanding that you thank them for their service. Which is why a lot of times they wear those outfits, is because if you go anywhere and you make eye contact with a vet bro, they'll just come right up to you and be like, "Why didn't you thank me for the service? Why didn't you thank me for my service?" And it's just fucking weird. It's that kind of mentality, right? They're also very gatekeepy with other veterans. And their time in the military. They will act like if you never served combat, which a lot of them didn't either. And I'll touch base on that later in the episode. But if you didn't serve in combat in some way, you aren't shit. And they're very gatekeepy for some reason. Like, if you were in for a year, if you were in for 3 years, whatever, if you didn't complete a contract, like a full 4 to 6 years, a lot of times they'll shit on you. If you're a reservist from the get-go, they'll shit on you. If you're a guardsman, a lot of the time, I'll edit out that last part. If you are a guardsman, a lot of the time, they will also shit on you for that. The part-time warriors, the weekend warriors, you ain't fucking shit. Whatever, they also will belittle other veterans for getting their issues service connected, when especially they are actually service connected. Oh, these guys, you just go out and are all 100%. You never served in combat. Did you lose a leg? This is shit I've seen. Did you lose a leg? No. Then why the hell are you 100%? Like, I don't know. Maybe because that person has fucking seizures all the time. Maybe that person has PTSD. Maybe that person got burned in a place where you can't see because it's under their clothes. There's so much that like could go on. And maybe, I don't know, because I've seen some people like this on a person's live. The person was sitting. Everything is like upper chest above. How the fuck would you know if they lost a leg or not? You can't see. But this is the kind of mentality that these fucking vet bros have all the fucking time. And I'm not saying you can't have pride in your time in the service, whether it was short, whether it was long, whether you just did one contract and you were done, or if you spent 20, 30 years in the military. If you were active duty or reservist, you should have pride in your service. Be proud of what you did, because is it like 1% of the population joins the military in some facet? I'm not saying don't have pride in what you did. But vet bros make it their entire fucking personality. And people who just like people who peak in high school, if it was just everybody civilian in this room, right? We're at a job. John Everyman comes in, fresh out of, I didn't know that last part. John Everyman comes in, fresh new employee. he comes in and, for months is just talking about how he used to be the quarterback of the local high school and he was all this stuff and, he can run laps around people and just the entire time is any free time he gets just talking about how he was a star quarterback 10 years ago. That's what edit out that last part. That is what vet bros are like. And it's sad. Honestly, it is so fucking sad. But the problem is, in the civilian world, the person that peaked in high school, we would make fun of. We would just tell them to shut up. It really doesn't happen to vet bros a lot. And I feel like we should. Especially us veterans. I feel like we should call out these fucking vet bros. Because they are not only giving us a bad look, but they are also making it harder for people to enlist in the military. Because they see that kind of veteran, and they're like, why the fuck would I go in? If that's how they're acting in the civilian world, I can only imagine what they were doing in the military. Vet bros are bad. And I know this next point is going to be a little ironic, coming from me, but a lot of vet bros have podcasts. I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. Put that thought back where the fuck it came from real quick. Because there is a difference between a veteran who podcasts and a vet bro who podcasts. Two totally separate things. And I'll use myself as an example on this. So, the podcast, the veteran podcasts that I don't think are, vet bro podcasts are podcasts like mine who talk about communities that I'm in and how I'm at this very specific intersectionality that talks about issues that certain veterans have, like LGBT veterans. I've seen one with women veterans, stuff like that. You have advocacy podcasts like Tango Alpha Lima or the American Legion's podcast that interviews veterans and civilians and how what they do interacts with veterans and can help veterans, like nonprofit organizations, certain medical procedures, stuff like that. And then you also have like podcasts like Unsubscribed, where it's just a bunch of dorky vets who are hanging out, making jokes, drinking, and just telling stories. And I would argue, like, some people say, well, like, oh, well, actually, those guys are vet bros. I would argue they're bro vets. And the biggest difference, for me at least, is bro vets are just, like, dorky guys who are veterans. And Unsubscribed is basically just them being vets. It's kind of like you just took a recording with younger vets if there was an American Legion bar and then they were just at their own table and just drinking. And not every member of Unsubscribed is a veteran, but a big chunk of them are, and they bring a lot of vets onto the podcast and even enlisted service members. And I think they had officers not too long ago, but I'm getting off tangent. But it's they just talk and they drink. They're just goofy guys. But Vet Bro podcasts are something uniquely their own stupid. And if you enjoy a Vet Bro podcast, I'm not saying you can't enjoy it, but they are just the biggest ones I think of is I keep seeing clips on them on TikTok or YouTube shorts. But they are the ones that will react to videos and just shit on it the entire time. Like, I'm not talking about like the Nick Ortiz videos where he watched like all the different branches, basic training videos that were on YouTube and reacted to them. And he would make jokes, but he would also talk about how shit was for him when he was in basic, and just, that kind of veteran YouTuber podcaster reaction stuff. That's fine. It's just like, oh yeah, I remember the confidence chamber. That fucking sucked. And then tells a story about their experience, versus where I've seen one guy, I don't even fucking know his name, to be honest, but he's an older gentleman, white hair, like Snow White, and it's a very nice faded high and tight he had, and just shitting on the new, like the making of a sailor, I think he was reacting to. It's been a while since I've seen the video. I should have looked at it again before I recorded. But he's just shitting on like the newer generation of Navy. And his thumbnail, I remember, was two larger chicks who were in gym outfits that looked very similar to the Navy PTs. But they weren't in basic, but he used that thumbnail to make it seem like that's the new standard that the Navy is quote unquote accepting. And it's shit like that. Like, there's real recently, there was on Twitter, and on TikTok at the same time, politicians and vet bros roasting, I think it was 2 or 3 women who were a little larger, and they were in the Navy, and they were just shitting on them. And I'm like, okay, first off, we don't even see what the fuck they look like. We're just seeing a behind snippet. Also, I wouldn't shit on them. If you have any idea how hard it is to do exercises on a ship, that's kind of hard. Like, maybe, I don't know, give them a little fucking grace. But also, I've seen freaking people where, like, recently there was a NFL draft pick. This guy is like 400 something fucking pounds, and he is crushing lifts, run times, like tackling, and the dude's a little bigger. And I get there are standards that the military does that is not very comparable to the NFL. I understand that. Kind of. I'm not a big sports person. But they were nowhere near that large. And I'm not even shitting on the NFL guy, because I watched that clip on TikTok, and that was fucking just... that was stunning. That was pure athletics. It was definitely a sleeper build. Like, if you looked at him, you'd be like, there's no way. And then he does it. He's like, well, fucking hell. He did it. But, like, we don't know. We're just seeing a quick snapshot. And then all these vet bros who aren't in the best of shape either are shitting on these people. Like, dude, get off your fucking podium that you put your ego on and step the fuck down. And then while I'm also on this topic, the amount of vet bros that shit on the military and the VA is fucking ridiculous. These are the guys that will look at you and be like, nah, don't go to medical. Don't go to medical. You're a pussy if you go to medical. Fuck you. You know, they're the Blue Falcons. They are fucking Blue Falcons that try to think they're all fucking shit. No matter where the raid. They could be a ranger, and, you know, they could be that stereotypical ranger. You know, if you don't got your ranger tab, you ain't fucking shit. If you're an AO, you ain't fucking shit. And I get there is a lot of some bit of cockiness with getting a ranger tab. I get that. I was never Army, but my mom, my stepdad, and my father were all Army at some point. I get the cockiness that comes with ranger tabs, because that is a difficult thing to do and get. I understand that. But it's not your only personality trait. And it's these vet bros also fucking shit on people who have service connection issues. And I know I touched on that a little bit earlier. But They're so toxic with this shit. Instead of being like, how'd you get your 100%? Or, oh, hey, I know you're a 100% disabled veteran. How can I help? Or maybe just not fucking talk about it. These fucking vet bros are just like, you don't look disabled to me. What the hell is wrong with you? And that's the thing where, like, people talk on r/veteran benefits and r/veteran on Reddit, both subreddits. They always advise people, don't tell other vets your rating. Because of fucking vet bros. This is where that mentality comes from. It's the vet bro culture. Like, I have a few veteran friends in my area, and we talk, and hang out and everything, and, like, literally, I have a higher rating than some of them, and they're like, how'd you get that rating? And I'm like, it's mostly mental health. And they're like, oh, yeah, no, that makes sense. I'm like, yeah, it fucking sucks. My mental health has always fucking sucked since I got out of the military. And I was fortunate enough, I got a highest rating from it. There's also my physical injuries that I have also adding to the total that I have. But between that and my mental health was the bigger push. But these fucking vet bros, you don't look disabled, you don't look injured, are you missing a leg? And I know I keep bringing up the missing a leg thing, but that was just most recent I saw on one of my friends' lives, and it pissed me the fuck off. And going back to the military side, I get the military has its ups and downs, just like every job has its ups and downs, but the military's ups and downs are very unique compared to the civilian world. I will give you all that. There are shitty parts of the military, and there's some great parts of the military. But more often than not, these fucking vet bros are the ones that got kicked out for either dumb shit and blame it on leadership. Like, it's toxic leadership. That's why I got kicked out of the military. It's not because I got caught drinking and wrecked a car and, drove it into a river and I got arrested. No. It's not because I have 5 Article 15s. And it's... or they say the military's soft now. And I'm like, dude, the military is quote-unquote soft because we haven't... The military after us, we advocated so shit wasn't as shitty while we were still in, and it wouldn't be as shitty for the next sailor, for the next Marine, for the next airman, for the next soldier, for the next... whatever Space Force is called. I think they're Guardian. Whatever, For the next group coming after us. Why would we let it continue to be shitty and then keep that issue and then eventually just have an even worse recruitment and retention issue? Why would we leave it like that? But the vet bros kind of want to leave it like that because if you didn't go through the shit, you don't have the right to say you're a veteran in their eyes, or the fact that you're soft and because you didn't have to struggle in the same way they had to struggle. So your service isn't to their level in their eyes, which is such a dumbass mentality to have. And that is where I think a lot of this stems from, is the self-image and the high level of what a veteran means to them because of all the bullshit they went through, and the mentality of a frat boy they have. They have this overinflated ego that they put on this pedestal of their service. And they act like they're the alpha dog in a situation, in any situation. I've seen on different social media posts about vet bros. I've talked to a couple of veterans about their view on vet bros, and it's just ridiculous. One I remember reading about was how this guy was, I think, because some veterans go into the police force, and I think, if I recall correctly, this guy was, there was two vets, him and this vet bro. We'll just call Vetty for the vet bro. So they're doing their police, I believe it was handgun training, and Vetty was like, well, I've been to Iraq, so I know better than any of you how to shoot a gun, including you, police range shooting instructor. It's that shit. It's that shit that drives me personally the most infuriating. I'm also going to quote another veteran here. So I'm just gonna, for sake, because I didn't get permission to use their name on the podcast or not, so I'm just gonna refer to them as Jay. My initial reaction to vet bros is that they're individuals who can't let go of the past. They cling to an image that makes them feel good because on the inside they're insecure and afraid of looking weak. I personally don't care if someone wants to wear a hat or have a sticker, but if your whole personality is being a veteran, it's an issue. There's a guy in my town that has the Eagle Globe and Anchor hubcaps for the Marines, and it's just so weird to me. If a guy leads every conversation with, or injects every conversation with, quote, when I served in the blah, 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 with little to no reason to do so, it's a scream for attention. And Jay's right here. That is very much what it is, because they have such a fragile identity that they are clinging to the fact that they are a veteran. And it's like they act like they were tough for shit they did in the military. And again, I'm all for being proud of your time in the service, but your time wasn't like a fucking Hollywood movie. Like, there is always someone who's going to be more badass or more cooler than what you did in the military, and that's fucking okay. It's okay to be a culinary specialist or whatever MOS cooks are for the other branches. It's okay to be a maintenance person. It's okay to be a military police. It's okay to, just be something, a part of the military. It's okay. It's okay to be an IT in the military. There's nothing wrong with that. You're still doing an integral part of what the military's mission is. And that's fine. But I feel like these vet bros are kind of missing, and I'm probably going to touch on this a little later, are missing that Hollywood-style feeling of being in the military that they never got. So they were like, oh yeah, I got a Ranger tab. And then out of nowhere, online, one of their battle buddies called them up and be like, dude, you were a yeoman in the Navy. How the hell did you get a Ranger tab? First off, like, yes, I know you could technically go through the Navy or the Ranger course and across any branch, but it's kind of harder. It's not as common. But also, yeomans are just essentially pencil pushers, putting it in, like, they do important paperwork and they're very big administrative positions, but they are basically pencil pushers. That's not really the high glam life of being in the military that a lot of people expect. And I'm going to say, going back to, there's always someone more badass and did something cooler. The exceptions are obviously Medal of Honor recipients, Navy Cross recipients, Silver Star, or people who just reshape the military for a good thing, right? They can brag all the fuck they want. They can brag all the fucking, to the high heavens, they could brag about it till the day they die. And I would sit there and be like, yep, you did do that. Like, if Dan Daly was alive, right? Or Private Doss, if they were alive and just reminiscing about the shit they did in the service, I would sit there and be like, yeah, that was fucking badass. Here's a bottle of whiskey. You know? And also, I'm also going to give it to the Vietnam era vets. You guys are allowed to, be a little vet bro-ish. You're allowed to be a little loud about your service because you guys got shit on when you came home. In fact, I'm also going to add the people of color who served in the military before the 80s. I'll also throw in there because you guys got shit on so fucking bad for your time in service, going in and out. You could be a little loud. You could be a bit loud. Not like screaming in my face, but like you could be shouting from your porch if you want about your service. I'll give you a pass on that. And of course, this is just my fucking opinion. I'm a nobody on the internet. I'm just a podcaster doing this for a fucking hobby, and take everything what I say with a fucking grain of salt, folks. Like, some people, because I'm doing this show, some people might think I'm a vet bro. And you know what? Fuck them. I don't care. But vet bros, going back to the whole, like, identity is just vet. This is something that I've seen a lot with vet bros. And I'm not saying, like take me, for example. I have a very specific online presence for my veteran advocacy stuff. This podcast, my TikTok, everything under the Rainbow Veteran setup is very focused on gay veteran, queer veteran, trans veteran, but like it's always veteran and LGBT focused, right? So I kind of have two things in my identity right there. But this is also not my main online presence. I have my personal account where I share photos about my spouse and my partners. I share photos of my art, my town that I live in, this little suburb of Pittsburgh that I fucking love that I live in. I work with, like, I'm trying to get into the community garden, so, like, I would probably put, like, hey, here's my stuff I planted, here's my vegetables, here's my zucchini. Like, shit like that, right? And then, maybe I have one for, like, my art only. I have another podcast with my spouse. I have an online presence just for that stuff. But vet bros have, more often than not, one online presence. And it's, hey, look at me, everybody. I'm a vet. Praise me. Tell me I look good. Thank me for my service. And it's so sad. And I kind of understand where it comes from. Because, like, if you're like me and a lot of other vets, you go from high school straight into the military. So your early formative adult years is just military. And a lot of the time, it's like, you are no longer allowed personal pronouns. There is no I, there is no me. It is us, we, the Navy, the Marines, the Army, whatever, right? And that's understandable. That is understandable where, some of that comes from, but also at the same time, you're kind of a fucking boot if you keep up that mentality after basic. Like, I give people a little bit of wiggle room. Like, if you just graduated basic and you still are like that a little bit, I give you a little bit of grace. Because I feel like everyone has that for a few months, but come on, if you're 6 years in the military and you're still acting like that, guaranteed you're gonna be a fucking vet bro down the road. It's almost a guarantee. If you're the forever boot in the military, you're just gonna be a fucking vet bro. Because that's your entire fucking personality. You didn't discover anything when you were in high school that interests you other than, I want to be in the military, which is fine. But you didn't find out other things about that you have interest in other than the military. What do you do for fun? I play Call of Duty. Do anything that's not military related? No. And, and it's funny too, because like they're so blue falcony about everything too. They put other vets down. They put leadership down. They put the VA down. And I'm not saying the VA is perfect. The VA is not perfect. It's an institution that is set up for failure. But there's a lot of good stuff the VA does. And vet bros will yell to the high heavens that the VA is the worst fucking thing they have ever done. And instead of trying to go to their local office, talk to their coordinators, talk to, someone higher up, be like, hey, this is something I've had a negative experience about, they just let it go on by and keep it shitty because they still have that if you don't go through the shit, it's not worth it mentality. And it's very interesting to see, because I have a few ideas where it's coming from, and some of these I kind of touched base on it. So I feel like vet bros are the way they are is because of that self-image issue. So I talked about on the recruiting and recruitment episode, which I think was technically my last episode. But the biggest recruiter for the military is family service, family legacy. I didn't touch on the second or third. I'm not quite sure where it is in the ranking, but I feel like it's at least second or third biggest recruiter for the military. That's Hollywood. Because Hollywood makes these movies. They make it based on true stories, or they just make up stories that, even just take the Battleship movie. I finally watched the Battleship movie because I wanted to see how accurate it was. And I'm not going to lie, I was kind of fucking pumped for the Navy. And I'm like, I'm not going back in, but, I could see, I'm kind of pumped. It's cool. It makes you feel, and you kind of get a sense of like, oh, that's fucking cool. Obviously, you're not going to join the military and take a decommissioned World War II ship into battle against aliens. But it's a big advertisement for the military. Video games are also the same way. Call of Duty, the Medal of Honor games, freaking Tom Clancy's video games. Like, that's a big thing. I know so many people who joined the military because they wanted to feel cool like they did in those video games. Or because of fucking Hollywood. They see the stories of, like, Private Dawes. Or, I don't even want to include freaking... I'm going to bring it up, but I don't even include it as a good tool for the military. But freaking Michael Bay's fucking Pearl Harbor movie. Like... that it's a good romance story. I'll give it that. It's a great romance movie. Not a great military movie. But like, oh, I remember a good one. I was watching a guy do a journalist or a YouTuber on Fleet Week talking, he got to look at a submarine. I think it was a Virginia class submarine. And he got to talk to some of the crew and everything, and they were talking about what's the most realistic submarine movie, and a lot of people were saying Periscope Down, and one guy chimed in and goes, "Wait, yeah, Periscope Down. Periscope Down is also the reason why I joined the Navy to become a submariner." And I'm like, "Yeah, Hollywood got you." But here's the thing: most of the other Hollywood movies are nowhere near what reality is in the military, which is why more often than not they use the big war movies and things, like think Saving Private Ryan. Like the first bit of that was a kind of a one-to-one of the horror of the invasion of Normandy. But like people see that and like, well, obviously World War II it's not World War II anymore, but like it's the action, it's the thrills, the adrenaline, and they see that and they want to be these badasses, but they never make it to those positions. Like everybody wants to be a SEAL, but not everybody can be a SEAL. Not everybody can be a Green Beret, you know, those kind of things. And I feel like the vet bros who wanted that try to make it up in the civilian world, sometimes by lying or by padding their service. There's a lot of that, unfortunately. Um, and it's just sad. It really is. It really is just sad, and it's a self-image issue, and it's an identity issue. Like, is there a way to fix it? No, not really, because we're always gonna have like these vets who always think they're hot shit. We're always gonna have narcissists, so there's always gonna be vet bros in some fashion. And I kind of touched on this a little earlier, but I think it's also the gatekeeping. Gatekeeping makes more vet bros. Narcissist vet bros who gatekeep make down the line more vet bros because they feel like they have to sound impressive to other vets to feel important. They feel like they had to do something cool, or were to the older vets level of going through the shit to be considered a vet in their eyes. And it's just this stupid ass fucking cycle. And it's sad. It is really, really sad. And while I can't see a way to fix it, because there's never a full way to fix narcissism. There's never a full way to fix people just being self-centered or thinking of themselves higher than they really are. The people who are not humble. We can't keep an eye on our battle buddies. We can keep our eye on our friends. And make sure they don't fall into this trap. Just make sure, your friends know that, like, hey, you don't have to act big and tough. Who are you outside the military? Who are you outside the military? If you're a person who's a vet and you just don't know, like, you just got out of the military and that was, like me, that was supposed to be my entire life plan, it's a grieving period after you get out of the military. Go find other vets in your area. Join a group. Go hiking with them. Like, get involved with your community. Like, figure out who you are outside the military. There is a grace period for that. But don't fall for the gatekeeping crap from other vets. Go out with your buddies. Go fishing. Go hiking. Go biking. Go play darts. Pool. Go swimming. Get a bunch of your buddies that, from home that are still in your hometown. That, you went into the military, they went to college or something, and now they have a family. Go out, hang out with them, have a barbecue, play some video games, play some yard games. But definitely find a way to be something other than just a vet. And I'm not saying, again, you could be proud of your service, you could joke or reminisce about the past, but also look forward to the future. Look forward to the good you could do. If you're like, hey, I'm a veteran, I got out, I don't want other people to experience what I did, advocate for vets. There's nothing wrong with that. Advocate for, your fellow veterans, advocate for service members, give back in some way. That's fine. A lot of vets do end up continually serving in some way. Run for office, they work as a civil servant in some facet, whether that's like police work, EMT, I'm not going to say firefighter because I think firefighters are technically EMT, but like ambulance, paramedics, firefighters. Some go to college, some become teachers, some work in volunteer services. And that's all good, but like these vet bros just kind of don't do any of that. And I feel like that is a big way to fix further vet bros from happening. But again, they're still going to be there. They're going to be there, and as long as we have a military, we're going to have vet bros. And it's just something to keep an eye on, I think. And not a lot of people call them out. So I figured, fuck it, I'll call it out, because I keep seeing it on fucking line, and these vet bros attacking other veterans. So, they're not going away. but they shouldn't be taken seriously. They should be treated like the guys who peaked in high school. And that's my episode. So once again, my name is Rayven. I am the Rainbow Veteran, and this has been the Rainbow Veteran Podcast. I do want to add, if you want to get in touch with me or discuss, have any ideas for future episodes or topics you want me to touch on, either LGBT focused or veteran focused, you can reach me at my email, therainbowveteran@gmail.com, or any of my social media accounts that I have, which are going to be linked in the show notes. And you know what? If you guys want to, I think you can leave a comment on Spotify and YouTube only right now. But either hit me up on my social media pages, email me, get in contact with me. What is your Vet Bro story? I really want to hear what your experiences with a Vet Bro is. And so, as always, stay safe, stay vigilant, stay hydrated, y'all. Bye! Hey everybody, it's Rayven here. Before we hit the outro song, I do want to make this little off the top of my head ad here for Trans Hope United. Trans Hope United is a trans-focused podcast group that I joined and helped formed with other podcasters to talk about and share our stories with each other and our audiences. Groups that we have right now is the Brat Podcast, or Ben and Robin Are Trans, Valentine's Voice, podcast, and just other podcasts that we're slowly getting into the fold here to try and spread awareness about each other's shows and just kind of show that, hey, the transgender community, even with everything going on, is standing together and standing firm, that no matter what happens, we are here. And so I do want to make this, and I'm going to add this until we get a official ad that we're in hopes of working on to talk about, but I am going to add these at the tail end of every episode to kind of talk about it and just have you guys listen. So I will try to remember to add them to the show notes in every episode, but if you just look up Trans Hope United and look at all the podcasts under that user name in different spots on like Spotify or any podcast website, you'll kind of see them there, especially on Spotify. So definitely go check them out, and I'll see you all later.